So in this video, I'm going to be talking about perfectionism and really my personal experience with it. In particular, my experience with it this week, today, over the last couple weeks, some of my reflections on it, some of what's worked for me and some of what hasn't, and what I do in the meantime. So I think I was caught in a dynamic that happens from time to time, which is I want to make something, but my standard or my imagined standard is quite a bit higher than that. So whenever I contemplate kind of moving on it, immediately my brain sort of rejects it and says that won't be good enough. It's this idea of good enough that really stops me. And it's interesting when you think of that structure because in that moment, there's no idea of a gradation, there's no idea of progress. So it's a classic example of when people talk about a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. I'm just thinking, okay, I want to make a drawing, and immediately I'm making a comparison in my mind of what I'm imagining I would draw and some ideal. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't match it. And so I stop. And then I have many things that I do, many tactics to try to get me in the game. But at times I'm just caught in that loop of like, I want to do this, it's not good enough. I want to do this, it's not good enough. So what are some of the things that I do when I'm stuck? I think the first one that I've been doing this week is really just trying to sit with the feeling. And I will say that's the most challenging. That's the most uncomfortable in a way, because it's not a comfortable feeling. I have this inner resistance to when I think I'm doing something that's messy or not up to my standards in some way. It certainly helps if I see it progressing, if I see something improving over time, then I'm not dealing with the same level of discomfort. But if I'm just in that initial dynamic of, okay, I'm going to make a bad drawing, or I think I'm going to make a bad drawing, it's not going to match my standard, it brings up like incredible discomfort in my body. We've done a lot of meditations about sitting with feelings. And so that's one of the things that I do. And part of the reason I do that is I don't want to rush past that moment. This is something that it's not a stranger in my experience. It comes up again and again. And the question that I'm interested in is, how can I move, or how can I still engage in something when I'm feeling stuck, right? Everyone gets stuck. Is there something you can do with it? Sitting with the feeling is the beginning of building what I call a tolerance for imperfection. Getting to the point where you're growing accustomed to the feeling so that it doesn't shut you down. But it's something, it's like, oh, okay, this is a little icky, this is a little uncomfortable, but I can deal with it and I'll keep making things. And hopefully over time they'll improve. That's the first thing, is just sitting with the feeling and kind of doing a proper meditation with it, settling into my body, feeling my breathing, and then locating where is the feeling in my body. What does it feel like to feel this displeasure with whatever I'm imagining? Where is it located in my body? Does it stay in one place, or is it moving? And again, I'm building a tolerance, an ability to sit with that feeling, so that hopefully in time the feeling doesn't stop me. I think a lot of times what happens, at least in my experience, is the feeling comes and it gets so intense so quickly that I immediately shy away. I'll go and distract myself with something else and just hope for the feeling to subside enough to come back and work on it later. So this meditation is saying, okay, let's invite the feeling in. What is that feeling of discomfort with imperfection? Sometimes for me, it feels a little bit like feeling exposed, almost like a feeling of embarrassment, shame. And again, instead of just rejecting those feelings outright, trying them on, sitting with them, realizing it's not a big deal, it's just another feeling. So from there, I do like to shift to the idea of, can I at least try to do something imperfectly, with the understanding that if you want to get good at something, you really want to you want to be willing to be bad at it first. As soon as I accept that as a new standard, like, okay, I'm going to try to do this at least badly, very often I give myself permission to get in the game at that point. And that's when real learning can begin, because then I'm willing to, instead of holding it to the standard, I'm saying, oh, can I just get on the field? And that brings up another idea that can be quite helpful, which is, instead of judging a particular standard, just judging the fact that or measure the fact that you're doing work, that you're making an attempt. So for example, if I was making drawings, I might just notice, okay, I made a drawing. So I get a checkbox for making a drawing, good, bad, ugly. And then the next day, again, the thing I'm measuring is, am I making a drawing? Am I making progress, versus judging a standard of perfection? So measuring progress over perfection. So again, these are a few of the things that I do. The last thing I'll share is, and this is the toughest one for me to do, is to give myself permission to not do anything sometimes. To just say, you know what, today's not my day. At least just for today, I'm going to let it go. And I'm not going to make something, or I'm not going to make an attempt. Give myself permission to do that. And sometimes when I give myself permission to not do something, sometimes it frees me up to actually do something. Giving myself permission that I don't have to be perfect either. It's not just what I'm making doesn't have to be perfect, but I don't have to have that standard for myself. Like, it's okay to just be you. So I would encourage you to try that on if you find yourself stuck at some point. And again, to recap some of the things, sitting with the feeling of whatever the displeasure is with what you're making, measuring progress versus a standard, and giving yourself permission to take a day off, or just throw in the towel. Get good at letting go for a day, and giving yourself permission to not be perfect. So I hope some of this helps. I have a handful of videos on perfectionism, but it is a rich thing to learn from again and again. So I'll link some of those, and see you next time.